Hi guys, so last week I taught you how to make my hazelnut sponge cake, sheet cake, so you're going to need that recipe for today's dessert. I'm teaching you how to make the delicious Esterhazy Torte. I don't know if I said it right, it's a Hungarian cake that is delicious, elegant, and very easy to make. It does have a few separate steps, and I'll teach you the easiest way to make it. As long as you follow the directions, no one will believe you made it. It'll look like it came out of a fancy European bakery. I'm going to take you over some of the ingredients that you need because we're going to do it in steps. You're definitely going to need a sponge cake, a hazelnut sponge cake that we made. We're going to make half a batch of vanilla buttercream that we're going to flavor with almond. So for the buttercream, we have 2 sticks of very, very soft unsalted butter in our tabletop mixer. I have some very thick pastry cream, about 1.25 cups of it, but the exact measurements will be on the website and in the description box below. We need some powdered sugar, some pure vanilla extract, some pure almond extract, and a little bit of salt. Now, traditionally the buttercream for this cake is flavored with a kirsch liqueur, so that's a cherry flavored liqueur that I don't have. Now I'm going to use almond extract instead, combined with vanilla extract, because that's going to go really nicely with all of the flavors of this cake. You can do so many things with this. You can flavor this. You can make this buttercream chocolate by adding about 10 ounces of melted chocolate after you're done making it. You can put Nutella or your favorite hazelnut praline spread, about 1/2 cup to this. You can add the cherry liqueur, or if you have maraschino cherries, you could add a couple teaspoons of the maraschino cherry liquid, and pretty much you can use your favorite buttercream for this, but I'm going to keep it really nice and simple and classic. We're going to begin so I'm using my tabletop mixer because I have one. It makes life so much easier, makes everything go by really faster, but if you don't have one, you could do it with a handheld mixer as well. You want to make sure that the pastry cream and the butter are at the same temperature. So you can stick the pastry cream in the microwave for about 25 to 30 seconds until it comes to room temperature, or you could put it on top of a water bath if you wanted to, like a double boiler. However you want to, just bring the temperature up. That's really important so that we can have a really nice creamy European style buttercream. To our butter, I'm going to add the salt, vanilla extract, and the powdered sugar, and I'm going to begin whipping it until it's really nice and incorporated and fluffy. So once everything is nicely combined, you always want to go in with a spatula and get that bottom up, lift it up and mix it around, so that way whatever's stuck on the bottom can incorporate evenly. And then we're going to add a little bit of our pastry cream at a time until everything is incorporated. We're going to beat it on high speed until the buttercream is super, super soft and silky and smooth. Okay, so you want to make sure you mix it all up really well. Like I said, sometimes stuff that goes to the bottom of the bowl just doesn't whisk up. The whisk doesn't reach down there, so you want to make sure that everything is really nice and incorporated, and then you want to give it a taste to see if it needs more flavoring. And just because in baking, the best part of it is to taste and see. So I can taste the almond in there and the vanilla. It's just perfect for my taste. I put 1.5 teaspoons of almond extract and 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and for me that's perfect. If you go too much, like if you go too heavy with the almond extract, it's going to tend to have a little bit of a bitter aftertaste, so just be careful with that. We're going to set this aside, and then we're going to cut our hazelnut cake into 4 equal pieces. So an easy way to transfer this cake so that way we can cut it easily, because the bottom might stick to the plastic, you want to take a piece of parchment paper, put a 1/2 sheet baking tray right on top of it, and then just carefully flip it over. So this is 16 inches wide. So we're going to do 4 inches each strip. Just like that. If you need to trim the edges a little bit to make it look a little neater, you could go ahead, but to me they look pretty good. Now I'm going to prepare this right onto the tray that I'm going to be serving it in. So I'm going to take 1 layer at a time, and I'll put it face down like that. And then I have some apricot jam here that I'm going to thin out with a little bit of hot water, just so that we can brush it on each layer to add lots of flavor. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to brush this apricot jam all over the top of this layer. And what I've done is I just cut some parchment paper strips and I put it underneath the cake so that way it'll keep my serving dish really nice and clean. And I'll just move them out so that way when we release them we don't mess up the buttercream too much. Is if you take a glass and then you take a pastry bag, a plastic disposable pastry bag. If you don't have a pastry bag, go ahead and use a resealable like Ziploc bag or something like that, and just fill it about halfway with this cream. And then we're going to put a third of it on here. And with an offset spatula or a spoon, whatever you have, we're just going to spread it evenly. And we're going to do this with the other two layers. We're going to leave the last layer of cake without buttercream because we're going to decorate that with a beautiful fondant icing and chocolate. The last thing we have to do before we move on is we have to take whatever leftover buttercream we have and just kind of pipe it along the sides if you can. If you don't want to do this, if you don't feel comfortable, you could put it in a bowl and then with your offset spatula just kind of put it on the sides of the cake, because this is going to be like the glue that's going to help the almonds stick around all around the cake. We're just going to take the offset spatula and we're just going to spread it as best as we can. It doesn't have to be perfect because this is just going to be hidden. It doesn't have to be completely smooth. And if you need some more buttercream, you can take some off the top, just like that. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to make the faux fondant icing for the top of our cake. For the fondant icing, all we need is some icing sugar, also known as confectioner sugar or powdered sugar, some milk, a little bit of butter that we're going to melt, and some semi-sweet or bittersweet chocolate chips. What I'm going to do is I'm going to melt my chocolate and my butter separately in the microwave, and then while that's happening I'm just going to combine my milk with my powdered sugar and mix it really well until it's nice and smooth. So I'm just going to add my melted butter to my powdered sugar and my milk mixture and keep whisking until all of the lumps have completely disappeared and it's just really nice and smooth. So the fondant icing is completely ready. It's nice and smooth and pourable. This is how it should be. If you're going to prepare this a little earlier, then you're going to have to warm it up a little bit because it tends to thicken and harden a little bit as it sits. We're going to set this aside for a moment. Now I melted my chocolate in the microwave at 10-second intervals, and you want it to be completely smooth and silky and just like this, completely melted. I'm going to pour it in this pastry bag. I just cut off the very tip, just a little bit. It looks like just a little dot. Last step before we pour everything, we're going to flip the last piece over to the smooth side, and then I'm going to pour about a 1/4 cup of warmed up apricot jam. Now this is apricot jam with nothing else added to it. I didn't thin it out with water or anything like that. And you want to spread it before you put it on top of the cake, because if you were to do this on top of the cake, it might shift and move around. It's just so much easier to do it on a flat surface like this. Then we're just going to bring our cake close to us. Put the final layer on, and we're going to pour the fondant on top of that. And whatever drips down the edges, just wipe it with your spatula and don't worry about it, because we're going to put almonds on this and it's going to cover any imperfections. And now you want to quickly work with the chocolate and just draw stripes from one side to the other. And then with a toothpick, just go back and forth to create a beautiful decorative pattern. Isn't that beautiful? And last but not least, we're going to put almonds all around the side. So let me go grab my almonds. You can use sliced almonds just like we have over here, or you can chop up some hazelnuts and use those. We're just going to take them and just go all around the sides with this. So we're just gonna remove the parchment paper. But this dessert is best served at room temperature. It's really elegant and beautiful. Who wouldn't want to eat a European torte? I'll murder the name one more time. It's Esterhazy Torte. I think that's how you pronounce it. Or you can call it a hazelnut layer cake. That's one thing you could say that's really simple. Now I'm just going to cut into it just so I could show you how decadent it is. It's so moist. I can just tell. Let's take a look at the layers inside the cake. 4 layers of delicious, moist hazelnut cake soaked in an apricot syrup, syrupy jam. Then we made our buttercream, our vanilla almond buttercream. The fondant on top, finger licking good, delicious. The recipe, as always, will be in the description box down below. www.dimitrasdishes.com. Make it. I love to see your pictures, so share them with me on Instagram and on Facebook. I also would love to show you how to make an Apricot torte, so let me know if you want to learn how to make that. Thank you for spending time with me today, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.